All right, this is going to be a breakdown and analysis of my race notes from the November 30th and December 1st race with Champcar, which was a 7-hour and 8-hour race at VIR North course. This will be the first time I had driven this course. These laps take place at the last day, last stint of the event. The beginning of the day started around 20 degrees, 25 degrees Fahrenheit, heated up to about 40, 45 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the day. You can see that it is partially overcast, but mostly sunny taking place here. We are running the 245 Zenith RT 660 at around 22 psi cold with a hot psi target of 26. Overall tire wear on the front left was a major concern. After 2 to 3 stints, that tire would, in some cases, cord. It would effectively destroy the tire. So we had to continuously replace that tire. The left rear could last about 3 to 4 stints overall, and that needed to be replaced. The right side tires were fine. The laps I have pulled up here are 2 of my fastest laps, which were taken back to back on the final day of the event, and this is when we were racing for the overall lead. This time, I believe, is these 2 times are the third times, the third fastest times of the weekend overall. I have 3 different videos pulled up. One is of the fastest lap the second fastest lap on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, we have the fastest lap, followed by the second fastest lap that I had done. Again, these were done consecutively. Let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to start with, let's say the GoPro video. We'll start with the GoPro video coming down the back straight here. Now you'll notice in this video in particular, I was pro tapping, so tap the brake pedal as we're going down the straightaway with the left foot, just making sure those pads sync up. You can see brake marker 3 right here in the video, and I am already on the brake prior to brake marker 3. Previous notes had the old Parts Badger car at braking at about 2.7, so this car is not braking as late as the old Parts Badger car, which could be due to overall speed. This car is a little bit faster. Could also be brake setup, as well as overall tire grip and conditions. Let's watch and sync up the AIM videos. So brake pressure here. So roughly the same occurrence you're seeing there. If this is brake marker 1, 2, and 3, it's occurring maybe at the 3.5 mark, somewhere in that range. That's where we're applying brake pressure coming into that corner. Now you'll notice at this phase, beginning a small amount of steering input while still braking. You'll notice the brake pressure in both profiles here, which you'll see I do have trail brake. One is going to induce a little bit of oversteer. Let's watch. So you can see in the fastest video in the bottom, oversteer was induced because of the trail brake. In the other video, or the other one that did not occur, and you can see the brake line trend that it was just more trail brake in the one that introduced oversteer coming in. Nonetheless, both cars are in somewhat similar positions coming in tight on this rumble strip. Now, if I go to the track map, you'll see the 2 different ways in which the cars went about this corner. Do not know why there's 2 different dots here, but you can see in the green plot, definitely driving in and holding that tight, and then the oversteer kicking the car out on the red plot with the idea that we're going to have a nice tight line through the apex and then out the exit of this corner. So it is really important to be able to keep this corner tight through exit. Let's watch. So both cars are very tight on exit all the way through that rear rumble. And you can see that here. So this definitely was the fast line to hold that tight through the corner. Obviously, two different ways of going through this. Now, if we look at the time distance map, what's very interesting here is the green car at this moment is actually a bit slower. It's about a tenth and a half slower. The oversteer seems to take place, and then the green plot gets slightly faster. But right around exit, we're effectively going roughly at the same speed. So actually, the one where the oversteer was induced, it actually is the faster time, because as we exit this corner, you can see on the green plot that this is roughly 7/100ths of a second slower on the green plot. Let's see here. Yeah, eventually at apex of the next corner, that meets up again. So even though oversteer was induced, that did not really slow down the time much. Getting that car rotated on entry and continuing that trail brake so that you can stay tight is important in this corner. Um, let's go to the GoPro video and watch this all the way through to the next corner. Now you will notice this took a bit of patience through this corner, especially on that turn in. There wasn't many inputs. This video actually on the right matches the green plot. It's actually a lot more controlled than on the red plot, but like I said, it was about the same speed, if not a little bit slower. So you definitely want the patience and you want to get as much trail brake as possible into that corner. Stay tight all the way out. And at this point, what I'm thinking is unwind the wheel, unwind the wheel. Now, if we look at the throttle plot overall, see if we can find that here. Here is the OBD2 um, throttle plot. Let's get these videos caught up. So you see the roll on the throttle, and at this point, both cars are full throttle. So keeping full throttle here and beginning to unwind that wheel as much as possible to scrub as little speed as possible for the next corner. Let's get these videos down to the next corner. Now, right about here, begin applying brake pedal. Both cars are in very similar positions, and you can see the aim here is at this rumble strip. We'll catch up the GoPro video to this point. Now you'll notice in these videos that I do have a little bit of steering input. I am aimed at this rumble strip here. I have steering input in the car, and basically I want the outside of the tires already set for the upcoming corner. Now, the way in which this corner takes place, we're going to do a sharp steering input to try to get on top of that rumble and allow the car to track all the way out. If we are able to keep the outside tires loaded through this sequence, we'll do a sharp turn in at a little concrete spot, which you'll see here. That should be the same in both of these laps as we turn into the apex. And then it's a matter of managing that speed overall. So entering roughly center of the track, which you see here, driving towards that outside rumble. Now, keep in mind, this is endurance racing, so I am not pushing all the way to the outside of the track on the turn-in, which I believe would be slightly faster, but this is overall about consistency. Like I said, at this point, a little bit of steering input to keep these tires loaded up, so the car will have a nice transition as we do a hard turn-in. So let's watch this on the GoPro video. We'll watch the turn-in point. And you can see that nice hard turn in. If I go back just a hair, it's kind of hard to see, but there is a concrete spot on the ground right there. You can notice that. So right there is where I want to initiate my really sharp turn in. Looks like I'm doing this just a hair early as I get tighter on that turn in. Now we'll watch this with the aim video because we have brake pressure here as well. You can see how this brake pressure is applied, and then we'll look at the throttle traces here as well. So the brake pressure, much less in amplitude versus what we're doing in corner one. Really, it's just getting the car set a little bit here, so a slight amount of pressure, and you can see it's nearly identical between the two laps on these traces overall. Can't really tell relative distance to the outside of the track on the map, but you can see that these lines are nearly identical. Like I said, these laps were back to back coming through this section. You can also notice the arc that is currently in this car. We are now doing the hard turn-in, which you can see that here, but I am loading up the outside tire as we transition across this point. That's also why we do have a slight brake input rather than a heavy brake input because the car is loaded up on the outside. Let's watch through the corner here as I begin to apply throttle. And you will see deviations in the throttle here as well as I'm trying to meter the speed coming over the rumble strip. So in both of these videos, I have oversteer. So in the bottom video, that occurred a little bit early. In the top video, that occurred a little bit later. Nonetheless, we want to get the car all the way to the outside of the track here, which you see. Part of the um, oversteer, I believe, is the lift throttle oversteer that you see here in the throttle position plot. You can see that lifting there is probably inducing some of the oversteer, but that's generally needed for to scrub the speed here. So we're not going to go off on exit. Let's watch it in the GoPro video. And you can see that oversteer a little bit later. Now, again, it's important that you begin that arc, load up the tires, have that nice sharp turn in, and carry as much speed as possible through this section. And you'll notice the speed plots are very, very similar at this section overall. See here, yeah, roughly the same speed plot going through this corner up to the next brake zone. Move the video back, and let's play through the next brake zone. Okay, and I'm at maximum braking position at this point. I'm getting my downshift done, which you'll see on the throttle position here. Um, that's important. Now, I think the braking is really limited in order to get this downshift completed. You don't see as large of a spike as you see in turn one. This is a little bit shorter braking, but there isn't much steering input at all in the car. This is relatively straight. Um, so the car could definitely take more brake. Unfortunately, that wouldn't give us the right sequence to get the downshift done in time. Now, the important thing here is to scrub enough speed that going to be able to take the next corner here, which I believe is the turn four corner, nice and tight. So let's catch up the GoPro video and then watch that through this corner. Now you can notice how far to the left car is, and it might be difficult, but I want you to watch that steering in both of these videos as we catch them up across that rumble. Not only are we going to try to hit that rumble, we want the car to get all the way over to the left as much as possible, which includes holding that steering angle a little bit longer and not necessarily unwinding that like you would on some corners so that we can position the car a little bit further over to the left to set us up for the next complex. And you can see both cars taking quite a bit of that rumble. And I'm going to hold this steering angle as much as I can. You can see I still have steering angle in the car. I'm holding that to maintain the car over the left in both. Let's watch that transition back to the right, which is going to be a really hard turn into the right once we're done with this complex. So there's the hard turn into the right over the next rumble strip, which you see here. We're also going to want to eat quite a bit of that rumble. So let's take a look at the plots here. It looks like the red trace, we definitely got outside a little bit more. On the green trace, we definitely got inward towards that apex. Now you can notice this is more or less in increasing radius corner. So if you notice from this point here all the way down to here, it's almost one consistent increasing radius, and that's how we want to drive this section. So the car hopefully goes as far over to the left as possible. We set ourselves up nicely for this increasing radius. We hit all this rumble, go to the outside of the track, and continue to hold this arc, an increasing arc, as we go through the next rumble strips. This effectively turns this straightaway into a straightaway that starts all the way down here on the left. And we're really trying to set that up to carry as much speed as possible. Now, I would say that there's a second or more to be gained between drivers in this section alone, all based on positioning this right to the left, because that allows you to carry as much speed as possible through this next section. Now, you will see some lifting taking place here early on, but ideally you don't want the lift. You'll see this lift on the red side as well, where green is able to stay on throttle a little bit longer. All the way to the outside of the track. Holding this arc, watch that steering. And eating both rumble strips. So at this point in the plot, you can see that the green car lost a little bit of time coming into this section, but it's actually going to gain some of that time back on the straight and then gain that through the next corner here. So speed-wise, the speed is fairly similar overall between the two cars. I don't believe that's accurate. Let's see if I can click on the plot. There you go. It's roughly the same speed, but the green car is catching up some of the ground it had lost. Let's catch up the GoPro video all the way to the next corner. And you can see braking here just before. I think brake marker 3 is probably right here behind the A-pillar. That's where we're starting to brake. In this video, let's catch up the aim video. And we saw that it's right around the 3 marker is where braking is starting. Now, moving over to the trace, we want to see what's taking place on here. And I don't have another reference video, unfortunately, but what we're actually going to do is drive into this corner a bit. And we're going to drive into the corner, and we're going to carry a lot more speed than you would if this was a traditional corner, because you have this nice big hill that's going to allow us to hit this as an early apex. So we're going to early apex this. We're going to carry more speed, and the front tires are going to be able to eat all of that up coming up the hill because we're going to have quite a bit of grip. So let's watch that. So coming up that hill, you can see that that's generally off throttle as we're coming up the hill. We're allowing those front tires to bite as we begin to crest the hill. At this moment, we are thinking full throttle and unwinding the wheel. Full throttle and unwinding the wheel. You can see this is completely blind what's over this hill, but if we're on the inside Like I said, we definitely had higher speed coming into this and we're early apexed, scrubbing the speed, not only with a little bit of trail braking, which you can see a little bit in the plot here, but then also lifting just a hair longer, and then back on throttle as we exit. Now you will notice an RPM differential. That's the difference between third and fourth gear on the cars, and you can actually see part of that heel toe downshift right here on the red plot. At this moment, it looks like the green plot actually is gaining quite a bit of time back, and it looks like it did that by carrying more speed into the corner overall. So the difference at this point um, looks like about 4 miles an hour difference carrying that into the corner. And as we crest this hill again, full throttle and unwinding the wheel, letting the car track out. And you can see this car is quite a bit over. This car is a little bit over where this actual portion of the track is. This section is actually a different section of track, but this is going to carry a lot more speed through the back section here. So you really want to trust that the car can push out, and you're going to be able to definitely make it through this next rumble strip here. Let's watch the GoPro video. Now you can see it doesn't look like we're set up very well at all. We're all the way pushed to the outside of the track as we begin to hit this rumble strip. It looks like this is going to be a horrifically early apex, but frankly, it doesn't really matter. At this point, we're not carrying a substantial amount of speed. And we have plenty of time for the next complex that's going to set up here. This will allow us to carry as much speed as possible before we hit the next corner where we're going to have to do some lifting. Let's drive to the next corner here and see what we find. And you can hear the lifting, and you can see that on the foot as well. So lifting as we're turning in here, and you can see the way the car is aimed. We are expecting to take all of that rumble strip. Let's catch up the aim videos, see if we notice the same thing. And you can notice on both of these, both videos we're lifting at this point down to about half throttle. And we're lifting. Hopefully the front is getting a little bit more grip for this turn in as we expect to go over quite a bit of this rumble and then go back on throttle to get that grip on the rear until we hit the next transition, which again is a lift in the next transition. We also have some elevation change. It is very slight, but we're actually heading slightly uphill. We'll begin to go slightly downhill, and then that's going to happen again on the next corner as well. Let's watch it on the aim. So you can see there, we made it through that corner. We're back to full throttle. We're about to lift as we turn left, and you can see the track falling away. So part of this lift that you're going to see here is compensating for the track falling away. And at this point, the track's going to come back. So we can be full throttle here. We don't have to worry. Now, it is important that we stay tight on these rumbles. In this entire complex, you definitely want to stay tight as you go through this section here and then back to the left. If you do not, you're going to end up at the outside of the track here. And it is a pretty significant difference. Even if you just early apex this initial rumble, so this video is all the way back, if you early apex this too much, that's going to throw you off for the next right-hander, which is going to push you to the outside of the track. Once you're pushed to the outside of the track, you're not going to have the grip to maintain the speed, and you're also going to run into trouble with this outside rumble strip. So it's very important that you hit this rumble strip with a late enough apex that you're set up well, and really use your lifting off the throttle to modulate your front grip to make sure you hit this properly. It is somewhat blind, so it's difficult to time properly, but you really need to make sure you're hitting this right, or it's going to cost you a lot of time. So at this point, we'll catch up the GoPro video through to the next corner. Now that looked nice and tidy, but we have a couple things at play here. So we're beginning to grip up. Now, in some cases in this lift throttle section, which I'll move back a hair, as we're coming down this hill, you'll feel like you're going to begin to lose grip. And you're going to want to correct for that with the steering. But if you keep your foot in it, you have two things working for you. One is your speed is increasing. You're going to have aerodynamic grip from the downforce. The second thing you have is that this is going to start to rise. So as the track begins to rise, you're going to have a little bit more grip so that the car can be caught. So don't get too bent out of shape unless you are way off of these rumbles here. And it does make a big difference actually if you're right on them or 2 feet off. So it's important to be on them, but if you're way off, you're definitely going to be out. Not to pick on the BMW, but maybe a little bit more where the BMW is. Let's watch on the AIM video. Well, I guess the BMW wasn't too bad. And you're beginning to see that rumble section here, which can get dangerous if the car pushes out. Now we're getting to the next brake zone, and what's notable here, we haven't started braking yet, but we will about to start be braking, and you can notice that this is a much different brake pattern than the turn coming up to the hill and turn one. You can notice it's not as much input. And the reason there's not as much input is because you have a little dip in the road. So you're going to have to start initiating your braking before the dip, through the dip, and then after the dip. And that's going to change the amount of brake pressure that the car is going to be able to maintain through that section. It's very similar to turn 6 at Road America. So as we go through here with the AIM video, I want you to watch for that dip as we're braking where the car is aimed. Now, what I'm thinking at this point is I am going to want to attack all the rumble, which you can't see here, but I'm going to want to get a nice sharp turn in, get on the throttle early, and make sure I eat all of that rumble. Now, there is a tendency to overshoot this corner. You certainly don't want to put yourself in a position where you aren't eating this rumble because you're just going to cost yourself time. So let's watch that. Let's look out for the dip, and then let's be paying attention to when we see that rumble and our steering input as well as throttle. And you can notice the hard turn in at this point. So a very hard turn in, just making sure that the car will be in position on this rumble. Now we're not full throttle yet, but you can see that we're about to start getting on throttle up to full throttle as we go through this corner. And now we're full throttle in both cars, and we want the car to track all the way out to the edge of the track here. That's going to be our fastest lap. Now on this one, you notice we do have some traffic here. We're going to have to navigate. Here we do not. But in this case, we're going to be carrying a little bit too much speed on the bottom video here that we're going to have to do a little bit more lifting versus the green plot. But let's watch the GoPro video through this section. Yeah, and a little bit more hesitant. Um, Perhaps that's because of traffic, but hopefully we can navigate that coming into one of the final sections here. Now, what to be cautious of is definitely tracking out to the edge of the track. That can be dangerous out to here because you can drop a wheel if you're carrying too much speed. Let's watch the AIM video up to the next brake zone. Now, it's interesting the cars are in much different positions, where in the bottom video, we're all the way pushed out to the edge of the track. The top video, we're right away in the middle of the track. Now, what I believe is actually taking place at this point in time, let's confirm. So the green car is actually going faster, which is very interesting here that the green car is going faster, and the green car is actually making up time on the red car during this section overall. So, you notice that with the mile per hour difference coming through, even though this had to pinch off on the inside, that's largely due to the lift throttle sequence that was taking place because the red car actually carried too much speed. We're all the way to the outside of the track. We're having to scrub that speed by lifting throttle, and that is costing us time. This is one of our biggest time differentials overall. You can see that we're starting at almost 0.2 of a second down to 0.1 of a second on the exit. So that's 0.3 overall that cost the red car because of this lift that you're seeing right here. So moving through this section, let's stop at the next breakpoint. Now you'll notice two small brake inputs as well as lifting throttle during this section. So transitioning over this rumble strip as we aim the car downhill, we do want to eat as much of this rumble strip as we can. We're also downhill, which means we don't have as much grip. As the car is falling downhill, front grip as well as rear grip is limited. So we have very light brake inputs while we're lifting throttle, and we're going to try to keep our steering input light. And then you'll see as the bottom of the hill approaches, then we can go full throttle and do the big steering input. So what I'm aimed at right here is a nice transition over this rumble, get some light braking in to scrub the speed I need, wait for the car to be ready to set at the bottom of the hill, and then we're going to hold that full throttle all the way through exit. And at this point, we're about to transition onto full throttle. Now you can see a slight lift here. I'm not sure necessarily why that one's occurring in the green plot. But at this point, you can see we have a lot of steering angle in the car right at this dip. As we come up that dip, that's where all the grip is. That's where we want the front of the car to set and really set us up well for the remainder of this corner. Now you can see two somewhat different lines where the top car is a little bit further out than the red car. Coincidentally, I believe the green car is, let's look at the speed. It does say it's the same speed, but it looks like the green car is actually losing time in this section to the red car. The red car, I believe, is the bottom, which is actually doing this a little bit tighter. So let's watch. Navigating a little bit of traffic with the red car, and that will equal up our speed. Watch and catch up on the GoPro video. And you can see a little bit more clear here in the green video as we went over that transition, this little lift. You could actually see that in the video overall. And I believe that was just modulating speed, getting speed to where it needed to be. That's why I was lifting as I was turning in there. The next lift you see is the shift on the back straight. But we'll go ahead and get this GoPro video all the way back to the beginning, and we'll watch this as a full lap. And there you have it. So that is our lap, or my lap, at VIR North. These were my best laps that I had overall on that course. Now this is very, very technical. So on turn one, you have patience, you have trail braking in, you have the fastest line is to keep the car very, very tight. So you do have a grip differential because whether it's camber or surface, I don't necessarily know, but on the outside of the track, there is less grip. So you have some things to keep in mind there. Nothing necessarily tricky with the brake zone on this one, but turn one, that alone has a few different things that you have to keep in mind. Now, coming into turn number three, which we talked about, as you're transitioning in, keeping the right side of the car gripped up, doing that nice hard turn in, eating the rumble, allowing the car to track out, and again, really utilizing the that continuous arc section, real light inputs here, and then making sure we're maintaining the speed. Heading into the turn 4-5 section, as we go through turn 4, keeping the car as far left as possible, making sure you're slowing enough to do that so that you can keep this nice continuous arc all the way through the remainder and really straighten out this straightaway, which is very technically difficult to do to keep this all the way to the left and stay disciplined there. Now, moving up the hill, again, early apexing this a little bit and carrying a lot more speed up the hill, and then also mentally telling yourself as you have a blind exit that you need to be unwinding the wheel early and you need to be on the throttle as early as possible so that you can carry as much speed through the back section. As you enter the back section, it's apex discipline, making sure you're hitting a late apex with a relatively blind high speed apex. Here you're going to use lifting of the throttle to control your speed, and the car is going to be really dancing on the limit. So as you come up this hill, you're going to go down the hill a little bit, then you're going to go down a hill a lot. Again, you have to hit this as a late apex, and then as you're falling down the hill, you begin to rise again, and there your grip comes. So this is a very technical section where the car is going to be at the limit, and you're transitioning up and then down in elevation, which does change your grip. You're also increasing speed, which is where your early grip is, and you have to stay disciplined to hit your late apexes. If you hit this first apex early, you're already in trouble. Um, Coming into the back section here, you have a dip under braking. So you have light brake input, harder brake input at the dip, and then into a more traditional brake zone as you want to eat all of this rumble. And what's technical here is eating this rumble on throttle early to push all the way to the outside of this track, and then holding throttle all the way to the outside of the section here, which you will frankly be right at the limit if you're driving it fast, into a very technical section where again you're falling downhill over transitions and you want to make sure that the car is as stable as possible through here. So back up to the brake plot. This is what the plot looks like. It's very, very small brake inputs as you're lifting throttle through that section to keep the car settled. And then as the track begins to rise again and grip up, you're doing a significant steering input as well as throttle input, and then just holding that through the whole arc of the remainder of the corner. So this track overall has a lot of things going on, a lot of things to master and try to get correctly. A lot of technical things as a driver and a lot of car control things as well that you're going to have to maintain in order to run good laps here. So it is a very fun technical course, but that's my overview overall. Hopefully these notes are helpful to me in the future, maybe other members of the team, and I might be posting this on YouTube. If you do like any of this content, remember to like and subscribe below. Nonetheless, this is my assessment of the laps at VIR North and my notes for posterity. So hopefully I can go back later and use these notes and get back up to speed without a lot of laps on track. Thank you for watching.